Shabbat Shalom, Norrisley family. Let's talk about football, shall we? The big story of the week was Marcus Rashford's successful campaign to fund meals for hungry British children through the summer. It was an amazing feat of determination and resolve, and it's nice to see when people use their celebrity status to advance worthy causes. Let me show you how some people are describing Rashford's feat. Prime Minister did a U-turn. Prime Minister Johnson was forced to score his own goal. Let me tell you why such rhetoric is terrible. In this week's parasha Shelach, we learn of Moshe, who sends 12 spies to the promised land. 10 come back with a terrible report. 2 come back with a good report, Joshua and Caleb. Now, when the spies are giving their bad report of the land, they start to describe the promised land, and suddenly Caleb stands up and he says, "Shh, let me speak." And they do. Why? Our sages tell us because they thought that he was on their team. Clearly Joshua, the teacher's pet, Moshe's number one disciple, wasn't on their team. But Caleb was undoubtedly on their side. So they silenced the people and gave the floor to Caleb to speak. But much to their surprise, he begins to extol the beauty of the land and Moshe's ability to lead them into the promised land. How did the spies get it wrong with Caleb? Clearly, they never viewed him as the enemy. He was their friend. Why did he cultivate that friendship? Because an adversarial relationship would not have helped convince them to believe in the Holy Land. Had he been their enemy, they wouldn't have let him speak. Sadly, in the end, they didn't listen to him. But the message of Caleb is that if you want to be able to improve a situation, don't become adversarial. Friendliness and embrace are the way to get people to listen to what you have to say. Let's return to the issue of the summer lunch meals. Any pundit who claimed it was a victory for Marcus Rashford and a loss for the Prime Minister doesn't care about our children. Let me repeat that. Anyone who says this is a victory for Marcus Rashford and a loss for the Prime Minister does not care about our children. What do I mean? Well, they've made it into a political battle and framed it as a loss for Prime Minister Johnson. The problem is that a politician can only afford to lose so many battles. And so the next worthy cause that comes his way, odds are that he won't change his mind. He can't afford to lose more political battles. Instead of putting him down for caving in, the pundits should have lauded him for his courage. They should have acknowledged his leadership and said, "Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister." Let me share with you the real score. Who really won here? The children. The children, they won. They were the victors. That's right. They will be fed through the summer. And a win for the children is a victory for us all. Rabbi Sachs, in his latest book, Morality, tells the story of being on a plane to the funeral for Prime Minister Rabin. He's surrounded by Prime Minister John Major, Foreign Secretary Malcolm Rifkind, Opposition Leader Tony Blair, and Lib Dems leader Paddy Ashdown. Half an hour into the flight, writes Rabbi Sachs, Paddy Ashdown turned to John Major and said, "John, here we are, leaders of 3 opposed parties, but we probably have more in common with one another than we do with the extremists in our own parties. We've never sat together before like this. Let's talk honestly and openly about what we really believe regarding the biggest issues today." Too often in life, friends, it's all about scoring points, politically, collegially, and even sadly, sometimes familially. Point scoring is the opposite to relationship building. A frequently arising issue I see with young couples struggling with their marriages is that they're more interested in keeping score than building a relationship. Well, I've taken out the rubbish. What did she do this morning? I made the bed. What did he do today? Point scoring is the antithesis of relationship building. If you want a successful relationship, the key is to devote yourself as a servant to your spouse, to your siblings, to anyone else you want to build a relationship with. Every time something comes between you and your loved one, ask yourself, if I proceed by scoring points, might I be winning the battle but losing the war? Ultimately, your goal should be to enhance the relationship. And so each decision you make needs to be with the bigger picture in mind. Will this bring me closer to my spouse or make me more distant from my spouse? Shabbat Shalom, and may everything we say and do bring us ever closer.